If you're a medical professional and ever feel like you need to know everything and get super stressed when you don't, this video is for you. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share why having this need to be perfect is not only keeping you from being a great provider, it's also keeping you from feeling fulfilled in life in general and keeps you from creating a life you're jumping out of bed in the morning to live. You know that feeling when your supervising physician asks you a question and your heart starts racing because you think, I should already know this? Or when you stay quiet in meetings, even though you have something valuable to contribute, because the thought of saying something wrong or stupid feels terrifying? These moments in medicine, they may seem small, but they add up, don't they? They start affecting not just your work, but how you feel about yourself. Hey there, I'm Debbie Movsesian. After 25 years as a PA and now a success coach, I've discovered something fascinating about perfectionism in medicine and why it's so much more than just wanting to do a good job. You know what's interesting? The more successful we become in medicine, the more pressure we feel to know everything, to never make mistakes, to always get it right. And the more we achieve, the worse this gets. It's like this invisible weight that gets heavier with each passing year. Because now, not only do you need to be perfect, but you also feel like you should already know everything. There's no room for questions or uncertainty anymore. Not only do we have this incredible pressure on ourselves, but we carry this burden alone. Because who feels comfortable telling others about this vulnerable weakness? This showed up for me in so many ways. When I had to ask my supervising physician questions, my heart would race. All I could think of is, I should know this by now. What will he think of me? And the longer I practiced medicine, the more shame I felt about not knowing something. I've been a cardiology PA for years. How could I not know this already? But it wasn't just about knowledge. This perfectionism showed up everywhere. In team meetings, I'd have ideas about improving clinic efficiency or patient care, but I'd stay quiet. Because being seen as having a dumb idea or sounding too brash or looking like a complainer, that felt worse than not speaking up at all. I used to feel incredibly intimidated by anyone I viewed as either smarter or more successful than me, even my own sister, who happens to be a cardiologist. I was constantly measuring myself against others, always feeling like I needed to prove myself in some way. What I've come to realize is that this perfectionism in medicine has a unique flavor. It's not just about wanting to do things well. Of course, we all want that. It's about this deep-seated fear that if we're not perfect, we're somehow not good enough to be here. Think about it. We work in a field where mistakes can have serious consequences, where knowledge is currency, where being seen as competent isn't just about professional pride. It feels like survival. But here's what I finally understood, and this changed everything. This perfectionism wasn't actually about being perfect. It was a sophisticated defense mechanism protecting me from my deepest fears. Fear of being judged by colleagues and physicians. Fear of being seen as just a PA. Fear of being vulnerable enough to ask for help. Fear of not being exceptional enough. And the fascinating part, these fears aren't random. They're actually programmed into us from before we even chose our careers. What's really interesting is how these fears get stored in our nervous system. That racing heart when you need to ask for help, the tension in your shoulders during rounds, the knot in your stomach when presenting cases. These aren't just random stress responses. They're messages from our body about the programming we're running on. And until we address this at a nervous system level, just trying to be more confident or worry less doesn't really work. Through my deeper inner work, I discovered that my perfectionism wasn't actually protecting me. It was holding me back from being the provider I wanted to be. As I learned to release these old patterns, something amazing happened. Not only did my anxiety decrease, but my clinical judgment actually improved. And my relationship with others actually improved as well, because I let them see me and get to know the real me, which is critical for good relationships. Relationships where you feel connected to others. And this is something we definitely need more of in our stressful work environments. Now I experience medicine completely different. I can ask questions without that fear of criticism, trust my clinical judgment while being open to learning, share my expertise without needing to prove myself, and focus on actually caring for patients instead of appearing perfect. This shift didn't happen by just trying to think more positively. It required understanding and releasing old programming at a deeper level. If you want to change the way you feel, you must get to how you're wired to think and feel at a nervous system level. Here's what nobody tells you. Excellence and perfectionism are not the same thing. One drives you forward, the other holds you back. And once you understand this difference, everything changes. True expertise isn't about never making mistakes or always knowing everything. It's about trusting yourself enough to keep growing and learning and being real. It's about understanding that your value as a provider isn't determined by perfection, no matter how much you may tell yourself that it is. This is actually one of the hardest patterns to break. Believe me, I know. But the first step is to change your belief that perfectionism is a good thing and something to aspire for. It's an impossible, made-up fallacy that only keeps us feeling bad or feeling nothing at all because we're too busy trying to be perfect and not letting our true selves be seen. So have some patience with yourself and keep coming back to the idea that you don't need to be perfect. Allow yourself to believe that. Next week, I'm going to share the exact tools that I use to start breaking free from these perfectionist patterns. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Share in the comments if you've ever felt that pressure to be perfect in medicine. Let's start having honest conversations about this because you're definitely not alone. See you next week.